Hello, hello, hello. Thank you so much for joining me here. It's so good to have you. Hmm. Those of you who are watching this video are collectively guided and invited by myself to learn and explore the boundaries and expectations in working with me. This is really important so that you know what you're going to get out of this work with me and what you're not going to get out of doing this work with me in therapy or on your healing journey in general. And it is my pleasure and with deep, deep gratitude that I do this work with you and help you prepare your nervous system to begin to work with me, or for you to have the opportunity to choose a different clinician or a different practitioner that might be more suitable for what you're looking for. There's no right or wrong in that. I simply am here to share with you what you'll get in working with me and what you won't get, and then also my boundaries and expectations for the relationship to be really clear, to be really forward, so that there's no convoluted processing or deep policies hidden in the paperwork. I want to invite you to watch this video so you can get it all right here. And that feels really important to me and where we're at in this culture of being very clear in what you're getting. And transparency is critical for a healthy relationship to thrive. And that is one of the, I would say, one of the pillars that I'm building the Rooted Healing Sanctuary on. Thankfully, to some of my ancestral wisdom I carry from my mentors, from my supervisors, that have helped me grow to be here with you in this capacity that I do and am. It's profound and it's a deep honor to welcome you into this space with me. So welcome, welcome, welcome. This is a big warm hug from me. I love the work that I do so much. And so taking this time to prepare all of this information for you has been something I have carefully curated and fine-tuned and edited and consulted, lots of consultation with many different providers for months now. It's been over a year that I've been working on this. And so I just want you to know that this list that I will share with you about my boundaries means a lot to me, and it's coming from a heart-centered place with love and deep care for myself, and then as an extension to you. And so, first, right now, where I'm at on this journey is I currently run the Rooted Healing Sanctuary by myself. I am a one-woman show essentially at this moment. And so I do my best within inside of the frameworks of communication and follow-up. Generally request that folks give me about 24 to 72 hours of business days to follow up with text messages and emails. And I'll say that I do not do phone calls and I do not answer the phone. So you have that up front. Text and email works best because my energy is devoted to working with clients on an individual basis, either in their therapy sessions or in some of the other sessions like working with ketamine or reiki. Those things, being in that experience with people is more important to me than managing a phone. And so I just want to be clear with that up front. I deeply care about the people that are coming into this space and want to ensure you feel safe. However, in order to get access to my time, energy, and attention, you'll have to pay for a consultation, which is $125 to $175 on our sliding scale. And while we're here, we operate the Rooted Healing Sanctuary based off of a sliding scale that is comparable to the Federal Housing Authority sliding scale and based on income. So my folks that come in that are making over $100,000 in their relationships, partnerships at an individual level, those folks pay $175 an hour to afford the mom who's coming, who's making $36,000 a year and is feeding two children. She can arrive in this space and pay $125 on the lower end of the sliding scale. So I want you to know there's this like beautiful circular reciprocity that occurs when we engage communally in the sliding scale policy. And it is beautiful. And most people that I share this with, they are so open and willing to do so. So I just want to express gratitude for all of the folks who have capital, who have financial privilege to be able to access this space and to make it available to help other people access this space too. Okay. Yeah, so as I mentioned, I want to reiterate, email and texting are my main approaches to communication. Or we could schedule a consultation over the phone if you'd like to. It's paid. And again, on the sliding scale, 55 minutes, just like another appointment. So additional boundaries that I have are late policies. I'm taking a moment to breathe. So late cancellation policy is 24 to 48 hours notice. So unless otherwise I receive a notice from you in that time frame before your appointment, you will still be charged for my time, energy, and attention. Unless otherwise it is an emergent matter. So things like you're on your way to the ER, things like you got into an accident, things that are like there's a tornado that's coming through. Those things are emergent. Taking my child to soccer practice is not an emergent notice, if that makes sense. And so I just want to be clear on those things. So if you are in an emergency, you are experiencing a physical emergency, those would be reasons and exceptions for this policy. Otherwise, the policy is instilled. And that is because, again, I run this business by myself, and I have to ensure that my time, energy, and attention is honored, as sacred as possible. And so I've worked to fine-tune policies to support that and where I'm headed at on this journey. So additionally, we offer consultations, like I've mentioned, and those are 55 minutes. And again, they are sliding scale. And the sliding scale is $125 to $175. This is a recent update I made in August of 2024. The policy used to be 100 to 150. But due to my life curriculum changes, I'm bringing a baby into this world, and I'm excitedly preparing to build a sexual healing center in central Pennsylvania. And it will be the first of its kind, I think, in Pennsylvania in general, but certainly central Pennsylvania and the Appalachians, which I'm deeply grateful to do and prepare. this takes capital. And so I'm grateful that you are willing to support this journey. Additionally, there is different pricing in the Rooted Healing Sanctuary for retreats and meditation retreats and tantra retreats. Rooted Healing Sanctuary has a whole subset of other offers and programs that are carefully curated by me and a few co-hosts that I have had the pleasure to work with. And I want to note that these pricings and these tiers and the sales, if you follow us on social media, I am the Sacred Sex Therapist on Instagram, or you can find us at the Rooted Healing Sanctuary on Instagram, and also the Rooted Healing Sanctuary on Facebook. But you will see updates and changes and a little bit more fluidity than the policies that exist inside of my sex therapy practice. Okay. And I just want to delineate there's difference. Okay. Refunds. If you purchase a ketamine assisted psychotherapy retreat opportunity or a meditation retreat opportunity or schedule a Reiki session, there is no refunding for things like this in my practice. And I just want to name that. If you are purchasing and making a commitment to a program or a service and are booking my time, energy, and attention in some capacity, this is a contractual commitment, and you will see that inside of all of your purchases with me. And I make that very transparent. And on the page where this video will be posted, you will see a letter from the desk of Alexandria Love from me explaining these things in further detail or clarifying it for you, not necessarily explaining it in more detail than what I've offered just now. Another boundary that I think is important for me to reiterate, especially in my psychotherapy practice, is that I do not have capacity, time, energy, and attention to do psychotherapy over email or text message. And I just want to name that. If you are in a crisis and you need support, we can schedule a session. However, I cannot provide that level of support over email and text. I can check in, I can validate, I can be interactive in some way and suggestive for us to circle back to this in therapy. There's a few different ways that I respond to folks, but I just want to name up front that I do not do that. And a lot of the text messages that I do are interacting for scheduling appointments and answering questions, as well as providing folks with extensive resources. Have a tendency to have a lot of research and a lot of resources in a database that I hold for the practice. And I am always updating and sharing and disseminating the education and wisdom that has found its way to me. And I just want to name those couple of ways that I do interact. Another boundary for me that I've learned to instill over the past few years is that folks who cancel regularly or are rescheduling their appointments regularly, I usually do this at roughly 2 to 3 times. Like if it happens twice or 3 times, I'll invite the client to secure their appointment time frame with a 50% deposit. And this is non-refundable. This is a commitment to the time and energy and attention that is scheduled for us to be in relationship and relate to therapy. I take therapy very seriously, and I honor my time also very seriously too. Especially as I move towards this next chapter, my time is going to be so much more sacred because I have a little baby that I'm going to be wanting to take care of. And that child will be really important and needs nourishment from me. And I certainly do not want to spend time just sitting in my office twiddling my thumbs because someone late canceled or someone rescheduled last minute. And so just naming a couple of those incidences that have occurred where I want to avoid them as much as I can, and I've found a way to instill that in policy to do so. So Rooted Healing Sanctuary also hosts group therapies. I love group facilitation and I love group work. That is where the ultimate healing occurs, is inside those sacred containers. And something that I've learned over the past few years is that folks have a tendency to stay after group and would like me to hold space for them. However, I don't have capacity after group. So normally group runs about 6:30 to 8:30 p.m. on Tuesday evenings. And that time frame is specifically built and constructed out for group processing and group healing work and interaction and all of this beautiful content and experiences, or all these beautiful experiences. But I don't do therapy after group. And what I'll invite you to is, if you do want to stay after group, or if you do want to talk with me privately, is to schedule an individual appointment to do so. I'm more than happy to prioritize that in the ways that I'm able to. And just want to name that is part of the contractual agreement with group. What is another boundary? Oh my goodness. I love this one. This is so important, is I have zero tolerance for discrimination in my practice. And that extends to discrimination that's expressed during a psychotherapy appointment. If I deem whatever has been said or whatever has been engaged in a group setting, in a therapy container, in ketamine work, in a retreat, then I will pull you aside or likely pause what is happening and either end the session if it's individual, or invite you to exit the group, and to offer you some space. So discrimination shows up in many forms, in racism and sexism and phobias, like, just not here for it. We don't have space on this planet right now for discrimination and hate. And I invite you to find love and self-actualization and safety inside of yourself as an alternative to discrimination. These are really important boundaries for me. As far as sex therapy goes, there is a number of boundaries that I think are really critical for me to articulate up front. And that looks like sex therapy is not, or sex and relationship therapy is not sex surrogate partner work, or partner surrogate work, or sexological body work, or somatic sex and relationship coaching. And I do not do sex work in my practice. I am a licensed mental health clinician, and it's really critical that this is clear from the get-go. I get often asked many, many questions about people wanting to explore their fetishes in session, like physically play them out. That is one thing versus talking about them and exploring them mindfully through our words and expressing them through our words and finding safety through our words. Very, very different than physically expressing them. And we do not physically express them in my practice. Okay. And that's something that's really important to be aware of. And so I'll say, do not ask me for sex work. Do not ask me for things that a sex surrogate might do, or a partner surrogate might do, or a sexological body worker might do, because the answer will be no, just like I'm iterating in this video. And it's a big boundary. Okay. So if you ask me, and you haven't watched this or read this page on my website, I will direct you to here. And so if you're watching this and listening, I likely maybe have directed you here for that reason. Okay. Two, there is a boundary that I like to establish inside of the sex therapy space as well. And I want to pull it up here for you. So if I get a sense that there is sexual suggestives or like passive or even forward invitations to or sexual advancements in any way, I am entitled to end the session and therapy and the meditation and the workshop and whatever we're doing to honor my safety and honor my boundaries with no refunds. Okay, I want to be clear about that. So please do not make sexual advances or sexual passes at me in this work. This is professional work, and maintaining those boundaries, maintaining that space is really important to me. Okay. So even though you may have those thoughts, it's okay to have them, but it's not okay to express them with me. And if they are expressed and I don't feel threatened, I will say I often will invite folks to explore those feelings, and if they're projected onto the therapeutic relationship versus if they're authentic. Doing the work that we do is so sacred and so vulnerable, and a lot of people I recognize don't have safe places in their life to actually explore the things that we talk about, to explore the things that I invite folks to get into their bodies and to really feel and activate their senses, connecting intimately with themselves. And so feelings are bound to come up, and those can be explored. However, like I've had folks, I'll give you an example, a clearer example, come into the practice and ask me if I'm open to sex work or if I know anyone who is a sex worker and can help them get that need met because they haven't had sex with their wife in 20 years, And my answer immediately to these things is no. And especially someone asking me if I know a sex worker, it would be illegal for me to refer you to a sex worker in the state of Pennsylvania. And so I just want to name that up front as well. That's not what I do, and I won't do it, and I will make it clear. And I'll invite you to watch this video if you ask me. Okay. Yeah. So something that I'd like to add as far as non-discrimination goes is we hold a container at Rooted Healing Sanctuary that is for all bodies, that is for all races, that is for all cultures, that is for all intersectional identities, LGBTQ plus persons. We are holding space for the human being in its totality, and the way it shows up in multiple forms. And that is an important understanding to have in working with me. And if you aren't sure what all of that might be, I invite you to go exploring the internet and the Googleverse, okay? To learn about what that all means, or to ask me questions about what that all means. And if you are going to ask me questions, to remain open and curious and receptive, and I will lovingly help you find that information. Okay. So session length is important to have awareness of. If you schedule a 55-minute with me, we are meeting only for 55 minutes. If you schedule a 90-minute with me, we're meeting for 90 minutes. If you are in a workshop with me, that's 2 hours. We're meeting for 2 hours. If you're in group therapy, we're meeting for 2 hours. If you schedule ketamine with me, we're meeting for 2.5 hours to roughly 3 hours, dependent. There's a little bit of flexibility there because of that. And you are charged per the hour with ketamine specifically, or it's prorated if it's under an hour. And I just want to name that standard is across the board. I can't stay an extra 5 minutes for you. I can't stay an extra 20 minutes for you, because it trickles into the following appointments that are scheduled, if that makes sense. And I don't make an exception. I don't want to make an exception for one person and then not be able to do it for someone else. So it's really like non-discrimination and on my end, and holding myself accountable to time with me. Other people have appointments that they've scheduled too. And I want to honor and respect their time, energy, and attention, just like I want my time, energy, and attention respected. Now, I will say that in navigating internal family systems therapy in my practice, that can make it challenging to specifically hold to 55 minutes, because pulling people out of those deep cathartic meditation, somatic experiences can, I attempt to take it very slow and easy, and I don't whip people out of them quickly. And so you'll notice that sometimes that may happen, and I will articulate that to you. If I go over a little bit of time frame, like 5-10 minutes, because I'm slowly pulling someone out of one of those encounters. And there needs to be a level of deep care for the system inside of that experience. And so there's like a little bit of grayness in offering that to you. I'll say that. Okay. Touch. Touch is critical in exploring this boundary. Okay. So the only time that I will ever invite touch is if we have a consent form signed. And things that will evoke touch are like ketamine-assisted psychotherapy. So we have found, the research has found how important touch can be inside of those treatments. And everything that is navigated is agreed upon and discussed from the get-go. And those are things like hand holding, shoulder holding, and offering a hug after the session, or grounding with both shoulders. If someone reaches their arm out, holding their hand, there are different ways that ends up being elicited, but it always looks the same. There's a limitation on physical contact there. Okay. Something that I'll say too is I have clients ask me for hugs often, and I'm willing and open to sharing a hug. And I just want to name that too. I will never ask you for one, but you are welcome to ask me for one. And I would love to offer that to you if you would like that. Competence. Okay. This is a really beautiful and important boundary, I think, to explore. So I spend an immense amount of time learning from elders, learning from wisdom keepers to be a competent sex and relationship therapist for you. And I am currently monitored by a governing body called ASECT. And I'll share with you that ASECT, it's a purple and yellow logo that you can find on the internet, or yellow, I guess, with purple background. ASECT stands for the American Association of Sexuality Educators, Counselors, and Therapists, and is currently run by President Dr. Lex, who also used to be one of my professors at Widener. That organization is where my sex therapy certification will be coming from, which I'm so excited to share with you all that I will be applying for that very, very soon. It's almost here. Been working on it for so many years. And there's so much time, energy, attention, devotion that has gone into that. So as a sex therapist, I have gotten specific education, specifically geared around a master's in human sexuality education, with extensive training to be able to help you identify intimacy issues and relationship issues that can connect to sex in general. I have gone through an extensive amount of supervision hours, over 50, and an extensive amount of higher education, like over 120 graduate credits in master's level courses to obtain a sex therapy certification. It has not come easy. It has been very hard and trying, and I have persevered. But I want to name maybe a couple of the things that I have specialized in. So essentially, I'm a traditional therapist with a specialty, like a medical doctor who goes and specializes in neurology or goes and specializes in gynecology. It takes years to work on that. So sex therapists specifically help couples who have difficulty achieving arousal or orgasm, have conflict during or around intimacy, are lacking emotional intimacy and experiential intimacy and all the intimacies. Folks who maybe have mismatched desires and fetishes, folks who may have physical causes for lack of intimacy, folks who desire to spice up their sex life together, folks who experience premature ejaculation or erectile dysfunction, folks who have confusion around their sexual orientation, or who are transitioning, folks who experience pain during sex, and that can be due to a multitude of adverse events like an injury, a pelvic floor injury, postpartum, or psychological factors from a previous traumatization when you were a child. Traumatic experiences, especially sexual trauma, rape, incest, assault, miscarriages and infertility, mismatched libidos with your partner, shame or guilt surrounding sex or physical contact, that is maybe instilled from your family system or community or church, body image issues, concerns about being asexual or aromantic. Those are some other human sexual orientations. Difficulty setting boundaries and difficulty communicating during sex, consent and sexual health education needs. I mean, the list goes on and on and on. But I want to share with you that the training is fairly extensive. And there's a specific set of skills that are required to be able to support people in these capacities. This is not something that a traditional psychotherapist is going to have capacity to help you with. And so, all of that to say, I work with folks who have PTSD, who experience depression and anxiety, folks who have complex PTSD, folks who are struggling in their life in general and are unclear of what they're struggling around and what's happening for them. Beyond just sexuality, there's a multitude of ways that I can support folks. And I'm so grateful to be able to specialize, to be able to support folks with a more enhanced capacity and a massive tool set that has taken years to build. And honored to walk this path in doing so with you. Okay. I think that covers most of the boundaries that I want to share with you at this moment. And then I'll invite you, if you are watching this, to go to my website, rootedhealingsanctuary.com, and go click the Boundaries and Expectations tab at the top. You can either find that on your phone on the three stripe drop down, or you can find that on the top of your web browser. And I'd like to invite folks to scroll to a letter that is written by me from the desk of Alexandria Love, boundaries and expectations for participating in spaces with me. And there is more for you to see around refunding, travel insurance, payment plans, access to me, communication, intellectual property, programming. All of that is additional information for you to have if you are participating in retreats or programs, or meditation retreats online, couples immersives, tantra workshops. These are all really important for you to understand that you've agreed to when you purchase those things with me. So I'm going to invite you to find that. And those of you who navigate sex therapy with me, or relationship therapy with me, or individual therapy with me, I have communicated at this time just about every boundary I think is worth articulating in this short video that I hope you will take the time to listen to and honor and respect in your work with me. And I just want to say from my heart space that it is an honor and a privilege to be here with you and to walk with you in this journey. And it is also really important to learn from the get-go where I begin and where I end, and where you begin and where you end. Thank you so much for allowing our relationship to be safe and professional and exist inside parameters that psychological services that I share with you are delivered and honored in reciprocity. I will see you in therapy, or I will see you in a program, or I will see you on a retreat, and I will see you in the internet world, wherever you are. I look forward to it nonetheless. Thank you.